right, let's talk about this whole school scandal of the a bunch of rich people basically buying their kids into college, and this is what I got to say about this. I was a fan of the show Frasier, and I used to watch it. Oh, it was very funny. But there was that episode where Frasier's trying to get his son into this elite prep school in Massachusetts. Well, here's the thing: they actually use a real school from Massachusetts in that show. They name it and so on and so forth. I forget the name of the school, but I grew up in Massachusetts, and there is a ton of these elite prep schools, and for kids, for really young kids to kids in high school, and then you get all those big name colleges. And the thing is that it's many of these so-called elite schools are in the Northeast, and they have this bloated reputation, and they're all these elitist bloated schools, and Harvard is notorious for this. If anything, you saw it with that movie where what's his name? What's her name? Crap. Oh, Legally Blonde. The movie Legally Blonde. You saw some evidence of there, but going back to Frasier, you see all the antics on that particular episode where he's trying to get his son into this elite prep school, and it's like K prep school, and the complete ridiculousness of it. And they state how it'll make a future, and so, and that's what all these schools rely upon, and and you hear about the ridiculous sum, and this is way back. I mean, understand, this is like that episode was over 10 years old. Well, I think well over 10 years old. And just the sheer ridiculousness of it, and but that's the way they operate, every one of them. So when I say the Northeast, I'm talking about New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. There are a few in New Hampshire, but there's also Delaware and New Jersey. So it's like, but the big ones, the really big ones are New York and Massachusetts and Connecticut, and these are all cookie cutter scam places. Which charges, absolute ludicrous sums. I mean, my brother went to a high school called St. Sebastian's, and my parents had to pay a pretty penny to send him there. But they took him, understanding that he wasn't doing well in public school, so. They got him. They paid a fairly hefty amount to send him there. And the same thing with my sister. She went to a school in Connecticut for her high school for her high school years, and there was a. And these are all really expensive schools. The one my sister went for, it was for kids with social issues and other issues. So, and they have kids coming from, from California. You have to be fairly, you have to be in the higher six figures, to even get into these schools, because just on the sheer amount of money that you have to pay to get into them. But it shouldn't be a surprise, and I think a lot of people understand that this has been happening, and this has been happening for hundreds of years, and it's been baked into the system. It's this whole meritocracy, we're rich because but that's not the case. It's never been the case. And the thing is, like I'll give you an example. I barely graduated from high school, but whenever I talk to people face to face, a lot of people ask me, where did I go to school? They think I'm a college graduate and so on and so forth, because of the way I speak, because of the words I use, because of the intellect I show. And the thing is I never went to college. As I said, I barely graduated from high school. But understand, like, I was adopted when I was seven and a half, and my brother was 5.5. And I went immediately to first grade. I skipped all that pre-K, and me and my brother didn't speak a word of English. Well, we did, like, we knew about the show Steve, the 6 million, the Bionic Man, Steve Austin. Well, at least I did. And but otherwise we didn't speak English. So I had to run in the issue with, learning English as a new language, and the same issue with my brother. And so, we really got to, we were really behind the 8 ball, starting our education. And being tossed into an all English speaking school, and me not even going to kindergarten or anything like that, that was a struggle, and my brother didn't do well in school. I didn't. I did a little bit better, but not much better than my brother. And the point I'm trying to make is that I deserve through merit, because I actually did learn, and because I actually had the intellect to qualify. I wasn't interested in going to college, of course, because I had such a horrible experience through all my years in the through elementary to middle school and high school, and also I had issues like with in English with how to use the proper grammar, proper nuances of grammar, and the proper the way to use the prefixes and all that. It was like a lot of that confused the hell out of me. But one of the things I did was I used to read a lot. And I also had a natural inclination to watch and pay attention to certain things. So, like, if you watch my videos, you can hear me talking about things that that you would expect to have someone who went to college, and I talk about physics, I talk about medicine, I talk about engineering, I talk about architecture, I talk about philosophy, you name it. So but I didn't have the opportunity, and my parents always talked about how smart I was and so on and so forth. But it was like, I feel cheated. I feel cheated, and the thing is like between what I had to do to struggle to get through the 1 through 12. And the confusion I had with English and as well as with mathematics, because I don't know why I keep on asking the question, why does 1 plus 1 equal 2? And the reason why is not because I couldn't get it intellectually. It went more than that. I guess you could say I overthought it. I've been told actually by a friend of mine who tutored me, so that I could pass my math, so I could graduate. And and I had said that, and he goes, "Well, that's actually something that Einstein used to have an issue with." He goes, "And when you do finally get it, when you do finally," he goes, "you might have the potential to be like an Einstein in that way." Now, of course, I don't. That's very flattering, but I still don't get it, and so. But I digress. The thing is that there are so many people like myself who have the potential, who have the intellect, who have the imagination, and who think deeply, and who have an assorted amounts of interest. And one of the things I really abhor about the entire Western system is it's always specific. It's like, well, let's fund young people, or fund the elderly, or fund this. And it's like, when it comes to education, we should all have access to education. That's not going to cripple us financially, and we should have a better system where people like myself can actually get one-on-one, so that we can learn ways to be able to get the proper education. Because I sat in a couple of courses at the community college, just like Excel, and I'm like, the way that it was going, I'm like, huh? And I was like, it just rolled on like robots. I'm like, it's like these like ask questions, but you can't, you don't even get a chance to raise your hand. And I sat there like, okay, what? And I finally got, and that was like $100 something dollars, And at the time, I was out of work, and I just spent $100 something dollars, and it was just a waste of money. I mean, there are so many issues with education, and the fact that it's always down to special interest funding, rather than being the more intelligent thing of everybody should be able to get access to education, which is why I stand for universal education. And we do already pay taxes. Our taxes we already pay taxes. So why shouldn't we? I don't care if you're 70 years old. Why shouldn't you be able to go if you have an interest? Why shouldn't you be able to go? And this whole thing with SATs and all that other stuff. It's all fixed. It's like the whole IQ test and everything. It doesn't go deep enough. It doesn't cover enough to identify intelligence. It's just narrow. So, anyways, I completely digress. But it's not a meritocracy. It's who has the finances and the recognition and the connections. Bill Gates of Microsoft didn't get where he was by merit. Elon Musk didn't get where he was by merit. Mark Zuckerberg didn't get where he was by merit. All these stories that you hear about all these people getting there by merit, that's complete bull. They got access to stuff that taxpayers had already funded and researched, and they were able to buy their way to use it and make money off it. That's not merit. There's a lot of like the movie about Facebook, the movie about Google, the movie about Microsoft. It's like if they make a movie, it's bullshit. That there's absolutely no truth to it whatsoever. That's what it comes down to. It's a PR stunt, and there's no reality behind it. All right. Anyways, that's all I gotta say.